Welcome to Easy Meaty Meals. I'm Emily C. Bunrung, and in today's episode, we're gonna be making some Char Siu, or Chinese barbecue pork. For this Char Siu recipe, I'm gonna be using my Camp Chef pellet smoker, but if you don't have one, you can always use your oven. The ingredients you're going to need are some pork, of course. Now, usually people use pork shoulder or pork butt because it's fattier, but I didn't have any left in my freezer, so I'm gonna be using a pork leg roast from my whole hog that I purchased a few months ago. The rest of the ingredients, we've got an array of stuff. You're going to need some naturally brewed soy sauce, Chinese wine, some hoisin, some honey, some molasses, some white pepper, sesame oil, some cloves of garlic, and you can't forget the main ingredient here, Chinese 5-spice. So the first step is to marinate the pork, but first we're going to be cutting this up into slices. So this is a 15-pound pork leg. So the pork leg is literally the back leg of a hog, but pork butt is actually not the butt, it's actually the shoulder of the pig. So the difference with the cuts is pork butt or shoulder is going to be a lot fattier throughout the meat. So you can see here, this is usually cured and it becomes a ham, but we're going to be using it for Char Siu. So we've got this nice fat cap. Now I'm just going to, there's actually a bone in here, but I'm actually just going to try my best to cut around it. I actually grew up eating Char Siu. Like after I would get out of school, like in elementary school, my dad would stop by BBQ Unlimited, which is like this Chinese restaurant that had like ducks, roasted ducks hanging and the Char Siu hanging, and then we would just order it and I would just eat that with rice. So it's a really fond memory. And I love it because you can eat it with many, many things and it elevates your pork game. I love the flavors that are in this recipe. So I'm just going around the bone. Okay, so we're just cutting into strips here. Most pork butts, pork shoulders, pork legs that you find at your local grocery store is going to be boneless anyways. But if you happen to have a whole hog, the bone might be in it. So we're just going to go around this a little bit. I'm actually just going to keep this on and I'm going to roast it like that. All right, so we just cut up the pork. Now let's mix the marinade together. So the cool thing about this recipe is for the marinade, you can really just eyeball it and just splash stuff here and there. So let's get it together. I minced up the garlic, about 4 to 5 cloves. We're going to dump it right in there. And then we're going to add a couple tablespoons of soy sauce. Maybe that was about half a cup. A splash of the Chinese wine. Now I'm going heavy on the hand here because I've got 15 pounds of pork I need to marinate. Got my molasses. I might need to get a knife for this or a skinny spoon. A couple tablespoons of nice molasses for that smoky molassesy flavor. Okay, hoisin. About 3 to 5 tablespoons here. Couple splashes of sesame oil. Some honey to sweeten it up. I would say about 1 to 2 tablespoons there. The white pepper. Last but not least, Chinese 5-spice. Now we're gonna whisk it all together. Ooh, that pepper went up my nose. Look at that. And then I'm gonna put some salt in here as well. So the pork is nicely flavored. I would say about 1 to 2 tablespoons. Stir that up. Oh my God, I can smell. Ooh, it smells so good. The molasses and the Chinese spice. Love it. Okay, got that all together. I've got a few Tupperwares to marinate the meat in. I'm just gonna throw the big ones in there. And we're gonna pour marinade here. Stuff more into it. Now we're going to cover the meat up. Let these marinate overnight in the fridge. So it's the next day and I've marinated the pork overnight. Now I'm outside and I've got my Camp Chef Woodwind pellet grill and smoker preheated already to, I put it at high smoke 220. Right now it's at 224. This is such a cool device because, oh, follow me here. This is such a cool device because it'll tell you the temperature of the inside of the smoker. So the first thing I always have to check is the hopper. Have a look here. The hopper is halfway full. So because this is going to be quite a long smoke, I want to make sure that my hopper is full. So I'm going to get some apple pellets and pour some in. Smoking pork, you want to use apple or cherry. Those are the ideal types of wood you want to use for that type of meat. All right. So that is full. Okay. So I'm going to open this up. The first thing when smoking meat, this Camp Chef Woodwind pellet grill and smoker can actually catch the grease, and it'll drip down and it'll actually go into this bucket. But I actually like using this so I can just take it out and clean it up so I don't have to have more parts to clean. So I'm gonna pop that in the bottom. And to avoid the grease that drips from smoking or burning, I'm gonna put some water in there. So I'm gonna pour some water in the pan. There we go. And I've got my marinated meat here. Look at that. Also, when I actually took the meat out early so it can get to room temperature so it's ready for smoking. Oh my God, it smells so good. I'm gonna place it right on this top rack here. You wanna try your best to get, if there's a side that has fat, you wanna do fat side up so it drips down. Drips and surrounds the rest of the meat. I'm gonna place this one like so. Try to make it stand up. Can you see that? Get tight. Whoop. I didn't cut this best, but I'm gonna try to keep it standing up. If not, sideways is just gonna work just as fine. Okay, I'm gonna get the other container. Oh yeah. You can see how much the color has changed and the marinade has really sunken in overnight. I've got this big baby with the bone. This like so. So you can see it's already dripping on the pan, so it's an easy cleanup there. Okay, got the last piece here. Make sure it's right under the meat. And the cool thing about this Camp Chef is there's a temperature probe. Instead of continuing to check when it's done, you know once it hits 160, it's finished. So I'm gonna actually poke this through. We're gonna plug it in. I'm gonna show you how it works actually. So it goes through, let's have you go around me. We're gonna put it through this little hole, boop. And then I'm just gonna put it in the closest one to the hole. So it'll be pretty close to when we know when this one is done, the rest of the meats should be done. I'm gonna put it long ways. Okay, so we're gonna close it up. I'm gonna show you how this works. So the cool thing with the Camp Chef, get close, there's two probes. If we had two different types of meat going on, there's the X probe and a Y probe. I put it in the Y probe. So if you click the probe temp here, that's X, we wanna go to Y. It shows that the meat is at 73 degrees. So I did bring it to room temp, and now we just wait until the Y probe says 160 degrees, and that's when I'll know it's done. The char siu is almost done. So now I am simmering the marinade that I used for the pork, and I'm gonna be simmering it for 5 minutes to kill off any bacteria from the raw pork. So the char siu has reached 160 degrees, which took about 4 hours in the smoker. I've got my boyfriend Cody here to taste. Are you ready? Are you hungry?
I've been waiting how many hours now? What did you just say? 6 hours?
4.
4 hours? 5 hours? A long time.
It just looks, it's like glistening, you know what I mean? Like.
It's beautiful, I must say.
And you can really smell the 5 spice. So I'm gonna slice this up. So actually, Andy, get tight here on how moist that looks. It's like pink inside. This is Berkshire hog from Covenant Pastures, pasture raised.
One of the best breeds ever.
Yes. And I simmered the marinade a little bit, so I'm actually just gonna top it off. I'm not gonna put too much. Well, actually, let's even try it without it first. How about that? Here, Cody.
Sounds like a good idea.
So there's some cuts with fat and without.
Want me to try some now?
Yeah, go for it.
Perfect. Wow.
So moist. You get that smoky flavor, but it's not overwhelmingly smoky. Does that make sense?
Not at all. Just the right amount.
Much better, more flavorful when you add sauce to it.
Still great without the
Yeah.
sauce. I haven't even tried the sauce, but it's like,
So I mean, I was telling you guys, this was something I grew up eating that my dad would buy at BBQ Unlimited, and I would eat it at Chinese restaurants as well. But I must say, my recipe, I mean, cooking this is like 10 times better than outside. So I love it. I mean, you can eat this with rice or noodles or just plain or with some veggies. It's definitely with the sauce. This is just a great, go ahead. It's a great entree or appetizer or snack.
cheers.
Cheers.
Boink.
So there you go. You saw how easy the marinade was. I mean, it seemed like a lot of ingredients, but it's so worth it putting it all together. I mean, you can keep it in the pantry. None of that stuff is really gonna go bad. So anytime you wanna marinate some pork and make char siu or Chinese barbecue pork, you'll have everything all ready to go.
I think it would be really, really cool to have this in one of those noodle dishes.
Yeah.
This is just this.
Right, the
this
traditional
flavor.
egg noodle dish.
Exactly.
So char siu definitely works with using a pork leg as well if you didn't have pork butt or pork shoulder. I was thinking that pork leg might have been too lean within the muscle, but because it has that fat cap, the fat was able to render all around the meat while it was smoking under that really low heat.
Give props to Camp Chef. They really
Yes.
It's an amazing product.
If you have an opportunity to get a
Pellet
smoker,
grills are just the best.
it's awesome. So easy to use. I put in the smoker. I actually went to go play tennis. That's why I'm in a new outfit, because I took a shower, came back, and then it was already done. I hope you like this recipe. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And please remember to click subscribe. Happy Char Siuing.
And throw some likes in there too if you enjoyed the video. That's what I'm talking about.